Hello YouTube, I'm Isaac and today I'm going to be showing you this tutorial for how to make this Beskar steel that we see in Star Wars The Mandalorian. I've been loving watching the show. I think it's been great and Star Wars is just super cool, so I figured now would be a great time to make a fun little tutorial. So yeah, let's get started. It's pretty simple. It shouldn't take too long here. And yeah, let's jump into it. First thing we're going to want to do is create a new file. Should have saved that. Oh well. Alright, so for this one, we're actually going to keep our default cube here because all those things really were is a fancy cube. Pretty simple. So yeah, it's a fun project. Alright, so let's tab into edit mode here. Scale this on the Z axis. It looks about right on the X. And maybe on the Z a little more. There's really not like a precise or exact measurement you need. It's something close. I think that works. Yeah. I'm also going to add in a couple subdivisions or loop cuts. Click Control R, mouse wheel up to 2. Scale those along the x-axis. The same thing here. Add 2 in. Scale them on the y-axis. And this is just This is just to add a bit more support to these corners, because the next step we're going to go to our modifiers, add modifier, and bevel. There we go. Just make sure I'm recording here. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, so this will just bevel the corners out a little bit. Decrease the size. Add another subdivision. That looks good. Add a subdivision surface. Yeah, those corners look pretty good. Maybe. Nah, I think that looks good. Click W. Select smooth shading. There we go. We have our basic little brick block tablet. I don't know what it's. I don't know what it's called. Yeah. So that's that. Let's see. No, yeah, I just kind of lost my train of thought. I don't really for my tutorials. I don't script it or write it out beforehand. I just kind of go along with what I did before. Probably should write them out, but it's just not as fun. So the next thing we're going to do, this step is there's a couple different ways you can do it. We're going to add in the logo, the Imperial logo. So there's a couple ways you can do it. The first one, you could just freehand it in Blender or use a reference. But I am going to import an SVG file as a scalable vector graphic. You can grab one of these from the internet or just draw one in Illustrator or something. But these are nice because you can just load it in and it'll put it somewhere. Select it right here. There it is. Let's bring it up on the Z axis. Scale it up. When you import these, there's a material assigned to them. We don't need that. And yeah, the nice thing about the scalable vector graphics is Blender knows what it is, so it doesn't import it as an image. It's actually a bunch of curves. So I mean, you can edit it at this point, do a bunch of stuff with it. So yeah, that's all editable. We won't really touch it there. All we're going to do is click W and convert it to a mesh. And then tab into edit mode again. And we see this terrible mess of a surface. It's just bad, but that's okay. For the sake of this tutorial, we're not going to clean this up at all. So we're just going to click A, select all, and extrude it. Click E, pull it up. It's probably good there. Click W, shade smooth. That looks terrible, so we're going to go over here to the object data properties under normals. Click auto smooth. Oh look, all better. It's like all that bad geometry doesn't exist. Perfect. I like it. Next thing we're going to do is position our logo where we want it on our block. I'm going to go object, set origin, origin to geometry. This makes more sense. For me anyway, it's just what I like. You do you. Maybe a bit bigger. That looks good. Bring it down. Don't want it too deep, but not too shallow. Yeah. Select our cube. I still don't know what to call it. Select the cube and add modifier Boolean. And what basically we're going to use that as a cutout. So object, probably should rename that because that's a good thing to do, but I'm not going to right now. Anyway, so that creates another mess. I'm going to hide the Imperial logo. Go back to our object property as normal as auto smooth again. Look at that. Nice and cut out, all clean and pretty. Perfect. So that's all we really need for the mesh. So you can go through and just apply that, apply that, apply that. That's all good to go. Yeah. No, sweet. Let's move on. Let's do the material next. That's a fun step. I'm just going to go to the material preview tab. Well, it's too bright. Yeah, we'll start with that. So go to the shader editor, pull that up, add a new shader. We'll keep the principles. This is going to be metallic. Obviously, it's the Beskar steel. It looks metallic anyway. And all right, so the material, the texture, it's all pretty simple. I'll just throw that together real quick for you. Yeah, let's see, not input. Where's that at? Texture, there we go. Add in a wave texture. For now, I'll just plug that into the color. Got some nice stripes there. Very nice, very nice. And add in another texture and a noise texture. Just drop that right on that line there. And, ooh, that is colorful. Not what we want at all. But that's okay. So the next step, because we're not going to control the color with these, we're going to add in a vector bump node, plug the normal into the normal setting down there, and swap this from the color to the height. That'll take a couple seconds to load up. There we go. That is a bit much, so I'm going to drop the strength down quite a bit. Move these down. There we go. That's looking good. Got a nice texture there. Now let's add a bit of noise and waviness to this. So I like to change from sine to saw. I just think it looks cool. You do whatever you think looks cool. I'm not necessarily going for like perfect film accuracy here. I just like to do what looks cool. Encourage you to do the same, but you know, whatever you want to do. I'm going to increase the distortion of this. It looks fine. Drop the detail down. Maybe drop the scale. No, I'm going to keep the scale of the noise up. Because the scale of the noise won't change the ripples. It'll just change like the sub ripples. So if you increase it super high, it's just like finer detail. Then this scale will affect the overall size of the waves. So I think something like that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, I like that. Maybe increase the roughness a little bit. There we go. It's a bit too bright, so I'm going to drop the color down. That should be fine. Oh, yeah, for the material, that'll be fine. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to darken where it's set in like that, just to add a bit more contrast to it. So to do that, we're going to switch over to the Cycles render engine. I'm sure you could do it in Eevee. I don't know how. I didn't really look too hard, but if you know how, let me know. I'm going to change to the rendered view here. And yeah, this text or this HDRI got it from, I think, HDRI Haven, HDR Haven. Credit goes to them. They're great. Great website. Check it out. Yeah. All right. Sorry, my brain's kind of scattered today. Like, probably should have written all this stuff down. I'm just kind of winging it. But hey, that's all right. You people still seem to watch, and I appreciate it. While I'm at it, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more. Let me know what you want to see too. Like, if there's something that I did that like didn't make sense, just let me know. I'll try and explain it. Yeah. Where were we? Oh, right. We're going to darken that. So we're going to open up a new screen here. Change this to the UV editor. Create a new image. We're going to call this AO for the ambient occlusion. I'm going to change that to 2000 pixels. You can never have too many pixels. Okay, so that'll just create a black blank image. Next thing, we're going to tab into edit mode. Click A to select all of that, and U and Smart UV Project. And that's usually good enough for this purpose. It'll just throw a quick UV map together for us. This is all we're really concerned about is this right here. That looks pretty good. I'm going to leave edit mode. And we can just close, well, I won't close that window just yet so we can see kind of what happens with it. I'm going to pull this back over. Then we're going to add in an texture, and I know it's here, that image texture, and select that image we just created and plug it into the color. Right now it'll just be black. We can unplug it. So to what we're going to do is going to bake the ambient occlusion of this object to an image, because this is really the only geometry on the surface. It should just affect right there. At least it did when I was doing this on my own. So if something bad happens, that's my bad. That's my bad. I probably won't publish this tutorial if something bad happens. So if you're watching this, that's a good sign that this went well, right? So we're just going to select the object, make sure this image is selected as well. Then go over here, scroll down. You got to make sure you're in this tab, the render properties tab. Scroll down to bake, change the bake type to ambient occlusion. There we go. All this default settings are fine. Just going to click bake. This will take a quick second here. We can see the progress bar down at the bottom. And based on how many samples you have, we'll determine how long it takes. Usually I find just the default 128 is fine. We're not getting like super up close to it or anything. All right, so I think that looks fine, maybe. Hold on. Something about that doesn't look right, but let's just plug it in, see how it looks. So that's that image here. Take the color, plug it into the base color. Yeah, look at that. It worked. Not the best. Sometimes this has like a shadowy effect that's nice, but that'll work fine. Let's go to converter, color ramp. Take this slider and just like increase that so it's not as dark. And then let's also take this white one and drop it down a little bit too. So we don't want it to be too bright. At least looking as I've been watching this show, it doesn't seem to be too bright. Oh, I selected the wrong one. Select that one, drop it down. There. I think that looks pretty good, don't you? Yeah, good enough. Like I said, I'm not going for like 100% accuracy here. I'm just trying to make it look cool. That's all I'm really in this for, guys. Alright. So that's all we need to do to set up the material. You can kind of play with the settings a bit if you don't like the bands. Maybe increase the distortion of it. Yeah, I like that. Increase the roughness a little bit. It's almost too shiny. Alright, so let's set up the rest of the scene. I'm going to Shift A, add in a plane. Scale that up. Click 1 on the numpad, go into side view. Bring up our little slab of Beskar steel. That looks fine. It's sitting on the surface, right? Yeah. We're just going to duplicate this. We can go back to preview mode just to speed it up a little bit. Oh, there's the texture. Okay. Shift D, slide it along the Y-axis. We'll rotate it. Whoa. Z-axis a little bit, maybe something like that. There we go. It's nice. I'm going to click 1 on the numpad again, Shift D, pull it up, just set it right on top there. Rotate on the Z-axis again, click G, Shift Z to move it on all axes but the Z-axis. And yeah, that looks cool. Nice little pile there. almost looks funny back there. Da-da-da. There. That's better. Right now they've all got the same pattern. A couple ways to fix that. You can make the material independent for each object. That just takes a lot of time. Not really, but I'm lazy. So what I do, add input, texture coordinate, select object. For the object, just eyedropper one of these cubes. It's compiling the shaders, that's fun. Shouldn't take too long. Why is that taking so long? They're not that complicated, right? So that'll throw off the scale a little bit. Just gonna alter that. There we go. So I mean, if you look at it from like straight up, you can see it's the same pattern just continuing across. Which, I mean, if that's the effect you're going for, sure, cool, let's do it. If not, it's not super noticeable, so I think it's fine. Let's grab our camera, position that, zoom in a little bit, scale up the plane. That looks good. All right, go back to our render view. I'm going to add a material or shader to this plane. Let's make it metallic too. Maybe drop down the roughness. Get up a little bit there. And make it a bit darker, just to add a bit more contrast here. Yeah, that looks a lot like that first one I had. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you know, that's what we'll go with. So I like that pattern. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm gonna add a bit more distortion. Maybe drop down the scale a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so that's all that really is. Yeah, pretty simple there. You might have to add in another texture coordinate here and just do UV. That should be done automatically, but if not, you can just drop that in there. So yeah, that's just about everything I've got for this tutorial. You can go ahead, render it out. It shouldn't take too many samples to look all right. Yeah, I've just got this on 128. It's a little grainy. For like a final render, I'd probably boost it up to maybe 1,000, or just cheat and use like denoising or something. I don't know. All right, but yeah, so yeah, there you go. This has been a tutorial on how to make that cool Beskar steel from the Mandalorian. I'd love to see what you guys do with this. See your work. So yeah, just let me know. Send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, something. Tag me. I'd just love to see what you guys do. If you have any questions, definitely leave them below in the comments. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys have a good day, week, whatever. Thanks. Bye.